Hello Astro friends, here is Melanie with the Astro Weather starting today, October 10th and going until October 16th. And what a week has already started and will continue to roll out. Of course, we've already seen these tragic news around Middle East and sadly, very aligned with the recent hot Mars phase of Mars end of Libra going into square with the Pluto stationary in Capricorn and also opposite Aries, ERAIS in Aries, where it's a lot about discord and division, and then Mars, of course, being the warrior planet, and Pluto being all about power to destroy or power to rebuild. So that's the question. When peace isn't possible, what happens with historic ancient Capricorn, right? Systemic conflict. And what are wars fought over? Typically territory and religion. We're also still in the wake of the harvest supermoon, end of September 29th, which came with Chiron in Aries. And Aries, again, the sign being the sign of war, of assertion, of survival. So Chiron showed us a lot about wounds of war and even recurring themes. I found out just yesterday that the Hamas airstrikes and then the following escalating conflict was exactly 50 years after the Yom Kippur War in October 1973. Exactly to the date even, right? October 6th until October 25th, I believe, was the Yom Kippur War, and now we're having another escalating Middle East conflict. Yeah, and Chiron is at the very same position where it was then. Chiron in Aries, the wounds of war. And it's retrograde also, right? So there's recurring themes. And I also dare to say, just throwing that piece in, Aries has to do, just like with First Nations and indigenous cultures, has to do with who was there first, right? And then territorial conflict comes up, and territorial shocks and upheaval and discord and what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a intervention, right, with Uranus in Taurus. And so all of this is rolling out at this point, as Pluto has just this evening, just half an hour ago, gone from retro to direct. So we are in the Pluto turnaround phase, in the Pluto turnaround week and month from retro to direct. Pluto has been retro since May the 1st, and today 10:10 it went direct. So whenever a planet goes, changes directions from direct to retro, from retro to direct, that's a strongly emphasized period of time for that archetype, in this case for Pluto. So Pluto all being about power, in this case power to change from within, and also external exertion of power is showing up again, and extremes are showing up again that show us how much change is needed, and how much change is needed. Right? So Pluto, end of Capricorn now, in the last phase where it's still substantially in Capricorn until January 20th, 2024. Then it goes into Aquarius for most of the year 2024 until September 2nd, then back briefly into Capricorn until November 20th, when it fully goes into Aquarius until 2043, 2044. So we are now in this on this brink of eras, also because of the Piscean dynamic that I might talk about in a second. But the Capricorn part is what I use as the ongoing formula and reference is the old empires expire while they also show up their teeth and claws and all their destructive and dominating shadow behavior as we're seeing right now again. And so who is really suffering? Those who are on the bottom of the pyramid, the regular people who are being killed, tortured, and being the one suffering from this conflict most, just like in Ukraine, same story. So it has a lot to do also with hierarchies, has to do with certain top-down agenda, and always the question with Capricorn, who benefits, right? Who benefits from a conflict? So more weapons, more destructive, more resources being put into destructive purposes. Well, what can we do if we don't have an influential position, put it that way? We can still contribute to the energy field with showing up with our best, with showing up with integrity, and seeing the shadow, seeing the phenomena, and offering compassion instead of judgment, because judgment, of course, solidifies the walls and the fortresses and the division. So looking at our own shadow in all of this is also, of course, very important. What else is going on this week? I've been talking a bit about Pluto now, and I wrote a Pluto article, Pluto turnaround article, which I posted on my Facebook page and Instagram, where I always link the platforms to this YouTube video down in the description. Then we have today actually also the alignment, which is a contrasting energy, the alignment of Venus and Lilith and the moon in Virgo. Venus entered Virgo recently on October 8th and Lilith on October 4th, and the moon happens to be also today in Virgo as Venus and Lilith come together. And if you had clear skies and got up early in the morning, you could see Venus and the moon as their beautiful alignment with a waning moon in the morning together with Venus. So what's with that? What's with that Virgo energy conveyed via Venus and via Lilith? Lilith entered Virgo, as I said recently, on October 4th and will be in Virgo until June 29th, 2024. That's quite a shift from Leo, right? So we had Lilith in Leo for the longest time, the whole time of the year since early January, and now in Virgo. So the energy gets much more grounded from a Lilith perspective. So what is Lilith all about? Lilith is the known to be wild woman archetype, but she is more than that. She takes us back to our wild and free and unconditioned nature, right? So who are we, who were we, and still are we within before we were conditioned and as we are unconditioning ourselves. Is that possible even, right? So, but we can come back to the Lilith state now from a Virgo access point. Virgo being the priestess energy, being the energy of being very well organized, being self-regulated, being self-aware, being in alignment with our cosmic assignment, as I like to say, and being on purpose in that regard. Also, since early Virgo has a Capricorn undertone where Lilith and Venus are right now. So it is about doing the work that serves the highest purpose, and also using our time and energy in a good way, and doing ceremony perhaps, and being discerning also what enhances our vibration and what is a waste of time and energy and actually contaminates, right? So Virgo likes to purify and likes to be in integrity. And so with Venus, we're attracted to that, and we are also discerning more in all matters of attractions and of relatedness, relationships with people, with situations, with places. We are more, have a refined perception of that and can be maybe critical, but ideally we're simply going back to being refined, being discerning, and saying, hey, this is not really in alignment with me. This doesn't really work for me, or I don't operate best in this environment and this dynamic, right? And then saying no, opting out, comes up with the opposition from Venus, happened yesterday, and from Lilith later this week, with Saturn retro in Pisces. So getting to the Pisces piece that I already alluded to before. So Saturn now in Pisces, being opposed by Venus and Lilith, is also showing us, Saturn's also retro still until November 4th. So there are vestiges of the Pisces age that are coming up now in a way to still bug us, to show us where things are really, we're really complete. We could be complete with already. It could be done with certain dynamics. For example, the whole dynamic between the codependent dynamics that show up with people, show up with substances, addictions, and so on, right? Where a longing to connect or to belong in early Pisces with a Cancer undertone, a longing to connect, a longing to belong is being redirected or compensated by certain behavior, certain substances, certain checking out, right? Not being present for who we truly are. And so Saturn wants to cut these obstacles, right? It says this is an obstacle actually to your connection, even though you might think it works, but it doesn't work in the long run. And then Venus and Lilith now, and more Virgo energy really helps to be clearer about our what really helps us with being on purpose. So now we're having, as I said before, Pluto having turned around this evening and being one of the indicators of an era ending. The other one is Saturn in Pisces, not only Saturn, but especially also Neptune in Pisces. And Saturn will meet Neptune in 2025, 2026, at the very end of Pisces, on the cusp to Aries. So I would also suggest that this is another indicator of the end of the Pisces age. And Pisces age, as we've seen again with all the terrible collective disasters and slaughters and warfares that just cause so much suffering, is needs to end and be on the way out. What can help really release all these things? For one, Pisces has to do with religions and with collective trends and mass consciousness, right? So if we are, as long as people are trapped in mass consciousness, all this tribal and then nation versus nation, us versus them, consciousness is so strong, right? So we can't see each other as people. We can't let ourselves or them be truly free and truly humane. And that is only slowly kicking in as the Aquarius age is dawning. But the Pisces age is still very strong, and it's also very fostered actually through the media, which are also very Piscean, right? So they also create a collective experience, and one can get overwhelmed and inundated with all the, call them media showers. So can you free yourself from all of this? And not to put your head in the sand and says, I don't want to deal with any of that, I just want to escape, which again is also Piscean, but to be more present in a better way, right? Rather than being so influenced by all these uh, overwhelming factors, right? And so what else do we have this week? Tomorrow, Mars makes a move. Tomorrow, Mars goes from Libra into Scorpio, and that will be until November 24th. So Mars has a 2-year cycle and was the last time in Scorpio in November till mid-December 2021. You can also look back at that time frame if there were any actions, any events that stood out for you, and how you can link back to that and see where you are in the spiral, so to say, of evolution, because it's not just a rinse and repeat cycle with these transits that come back to the same position in zodiac. It's an ongoing evolution. And evolution is also, of course, the whole theme of Pluto being the higher vibration of and the transpersonal version of Mars, because Pluto has to do with higher power. Mars has to do with personal power, solar plexus. Mars rules the solar plexus, is a warrior energy, and Pluto has to do with higher power and the assertion of the historical evolution, so to say, to which, of course, we can still contribute. And then Mars entering Scorpio is really interesting on the heels of Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio. Okay, what happened here? Okay, I'm still here. Something was going asleep, my computer. So as Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio, changed directions today, Mars tomorrow on its heels goes into Scorpio. So, and also Mars being, as I said, the personal agent of Pluto, so to say. Used to also rule Scorpio before Pluto was discovered and recognized as a ruler of Scorpio. So what's Mars in Scorpio doing? It brings intensity again. It helps us maybe after a choice is being made. That's again a Libra, was a Libra process. Now choices lead to change. Now we are called to dive into the transformation that the choice brings. And that can bring up, of course, a lot of deep stuff, lots of emotional stuff that is steering, right? Yet, when some process starts, any process, it's also good because the energy finally moves. And we have to move through stuff with Mars in Scorpio. It helps us. It's a warrior energy that helps us move through the dark and move through the dark season of Scorpio. Actually, Mars covers the whole season of Scorpio and more, right? So Mars will be the first to enter Scorpio tomorrow, followed by Mercury on the 21st and by the Sun on the 23rd of October. And then Scorpio goes on until November 22nd, when Mars is still in Scorpio for 2 days. So yeah, any Scorpio energy gets a boost from Mars. So it's the Sun and Mars in Scorpio year, that's recently every 2 years, but Mars also shifts. It's not always exactly the same dates in the same sign, right? Because it's a little less than 2 years, the cycle, right? Last time it was end of October till mid-December. This time it's early October until end of November, right? So it's not always aligned like this, but this year really Mars Sun in Scorpio very strong. So if there's any project, anything you'd like to really tackle and say, I got to get to the bottom of it and also activate my inner warrior that also deals with psychological stuff, with the inner demons, and with anything that is lurking in the shadow, or simply also a strong clearing of the house, but it's mostly also psychological clearing with Mars in Scorpio. Then we have on Saturday one of the major events of the month, which is the annular solar eclipse, also known as Ring of Fire. It is an annular eclipse, so not the whole disk of the sun will be covered, leaving this halo that, because the moon is slightly in disk, slightly smaller than the sun disk, which is actually really fascinating that both can be, from Earth perspective, the same size. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any eclipses. And this time it's an annular, and it's a release eclipse because it's end of Libra, where now the south node is. The eclipse will be visible in North America and Central America. Path of the eclipse goes mostly southwest and then through Central America, but also through Brazil, I believe. And so typically the countries where the eclipse is, the path goes over, they are also most affected by it. But it's not a guarantee. It's not exclusively either. And this eclipse I show you the chart for is a chart for the eclipse. You can see the Libra energy here. Libra with Sun, Moon, and Mercury and South Node, while Mars is freshly then in Scorpio. So there's a lot going on here, right? So again, choices. And what's with peace? With the Libra South Node, you could even say, is there even hope for peace anymore when there's so much energy going into war, right? What's with negotiations? All of that would be Libran. And yet it's typically with the South Node not easy to come by, and even draining energies, right? So more negotiation just might not do it. So I hate to say that, right? Because I'm all for peace. But with the North Node in Aries, how can we express the North Node in Aries? With Chiron in a different way than through warfare. It's like, as I said, it's a solar eclipse, a new moon, but it is also has a strong polarity, right? So it's in a way also like a lunar eclipse. It's like a full moon because there's the two sides, Aries and Libra emphasized, right? So it's a lot about with Aries autonomy. So how can autonomy be supported here? That well, that can, and also self-determination is very, very Aries. And even in combination with Taurus, it has to do with territory, it has to do with the land, it has to do with the body, it has to do with nature. So there's a lot of that is being stirred up right now. And yeah, this is the time, right? I just talked last time with the full moon in Aries with Chiron, right? Libra Aries again, about indigenous cultures and their claim for, yeah, full acknowledgement, right? And the First Nations rights. So all of that has a lot to do with Aries. And so the solar eclipse is coming and catalyzing a lot, catalyzing Pluto going direct, catalyzing Lilith into Virgo, and Venus into Virgo, and Mars into Scorpio. Yay, this is a real handful. So this is probably the highlight of the month of October. Yet there will be another eclipse. They always come in pairs, right? There's always a solar and a lunar eclipse within 2 weeks. Sometimes solar first, sometimes lunar first, depending on how close the full moons are aligned with the nodal axis. So the second eclipse will be on the 28th of October. And yep, we are in eclipse season right now. The second eclipse will be in Taurus. In this case, the last eclipse since 2021-22, where one of the sides is Taurus and one of the sides is Scorpio. And in this case, a seed eclipse. So planting new seeds from the Taurus perspective where the full moon will be. And Aries is in the background as well. Anyway, I'm not getting fully into that, but just to state that this is the first of 2 eclipses. And we are also still in the retro fall, retro autumn. Today, Pluto went out of retro, so it's not 6 planets anymore, it's 5, but that are retro. But then the next shift will be only on November 4th when Saturn goes out of retro. And so it's still quite a retro energy, so it's still a lot of processing of old stuff and inner stuff. So make sure you give yourself time for that. And if you feel things are not moving forward, it is really good time to keep backtracking and going to the root of things, especially with Pluto. And root with Pluto, what has been disempowering, and where have I given my power away, and what does it have to do with the ancestors, what does it have to do with the biggest structures in the world, and how can respect come back, and being on purpose, aging well, ancestors, elders, all of that is very Capricorn. Then where is the moon this week? The moon is now in Virgo, as I said, together with Venus and Lilith for 2 days. It's waning, moving towards the new moon. Then the moon goes into Libra, already the sign of the eclipse, on Thursday the 12th at 5:22 p.m. and will be in Libra until Sunday early morning, 4:04 a.m. And then in Scorpio, Sunday, all day Monday, and until Tuesday, 17th, around noon. So Virgo, Libra, Scorpio. The Virgo moon is very cautious, very diligent, wants to also work with things in a good way, and is very crafty as well. So, and ideally also self-aware. So we have a need for that. We need to deal with details in a good way, right? And we need to do our work that is fulfilling and that makes the world a better place. And we need to bring order into chaos, hence all this war and chaos and war, Pisces, Aries, that we're seeing in the media. We have to also regulate that, regulate our exposure to it. And then Libra moon. Oh, we so much need peace, and we need fairness, justice, negotiation, harmony, well-matched dynamics, right? So dealing with people where there's a real good synergy with. and also culture, right? So it is a good idea. Don't feel guilty to expose yourself to the beauty and to culture, to everything beautiful and true and uplifting, right? And that is giving you more peace of mind and a mind of peace, as Mercury in Libra also would have it. From this place, you can handle all the distress and all the terrible onslaught that's going on in the atmosphere right now much better. And then the moon after the new moon eclipse goes into Scorpio, not immediately, but on Sunday morning. So that's again another shift because, and that will be quite noticeable because it's the moon in its most challenged sign in the zodiac, and the moon will meet Mars, right? So it's the first contact of Moon Mars, as Mars is in Scorpio, so another activation, and it might bring up a lot of emotional stuff to process. So Mars can actually help with that. Mars is pretty strong in Scorpio, while the moon can be more challenging because sometimes we have self-defeating emotions. And with Mars, it helps us move, like move physically, literally do something that helps you process, helps you sweat, helps you get things through your system. So that would be great to do on the weekend. And clearing, yep. So I believe that's good for now. I've been talking quite a bit, but it's also a really intense week right now. Wishing you well, and I see you again when we do in real life or you see me here. Bye.